Hello friends, my name is Catherine and today I'm going to be recovering a composition book. I love composition books for their ease of use, but I'm not a particular fan of how they look. They're pretty weird to me. So I'm going to be recovering this book, and the first thing that I'm going to do is take the cover off so that I can redo it and then put a new one on. So the first thing that we're going to do, okay, so this composition book, all composition books are a saddle stitched single signature book, which means that it's got flat paper that has been sewn down the middle. So this is all this, and this is all one sheet. And this particular composition book has been saddle stitched straight through the cover, and then the outside binding has been covered with binding tape. So what we're going to do to get the cover off is just take and pull it as far away as we can so that we can see the inside binding, and then cut right next to the binding but not through the binding, if we can do it, if it can be managed. Should come away in two parts if I'm able to hit each of the holes that the cover was stitched through, but not cut the actual thread. You hear that click? That's the sound that it makes each time I hit one of the holes that the binding was sewn through. All right, let's see what we've got. Okay, that will work. All right, set that one aside and then pull that one off. And now we have a single signature, which has been saddle stitched all the way down without a cover. Now let's just clean up this binding a little bit, because there's no reason not to reuse these cover pages, but we will want to clean them up a little bit. There's a slight crease right here at the edge, which is what I want to cut the cardstock at. It's not the heaviest duty stuff, but once I've got a couple of layers of whatever else on there, it should be all right. Go. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a tiny little crease mark on here, which is what I'm cutting on, which is going to give me a straight cut line and also an equal distance and an equal size cardstock for each piece. Hopefully. Who knows? We shall see. All right. Yes. There we go. Okay, straight cut, equal size cardstock. Perfect. Now, we are going to cover these in a lighter weight cardstock. I've got this cream colored cardstock here, which is going to be perfect for this, I think. So we're going to cover each of these in this cream colored cardstock. Go. Yep, that'll work out. Okay, so I'll just take and put tacky glue just all over the place and make sure to get it on as evenly as possible. And then what I'm actually going to do is take a bit of paper towel and smear that around so I've got a nice thin, even coat. There we go. So I've got a piece of paper towel here. I'm just going to take and smear that around so that I have a nice, thin, even coat. Hopefully, without leaving too much paper towel behind everywhere. There we are. All right, and then flip it over onto the cardstock and get it as close to even as I can from side to side and from top to bottom. And then just flatten it down. And I don't actually own a brayer. If you had a brayer, this would be a good time to use it, but I don't have one, so we are making do. All right, that's one side done. And then the other one, same thing. Glue everywhere. Ooh. This bottle might be close to being out. That's all right. We'll set it aside and grab another one. There we go. Okay. And then do the same thing. Just take our paper towel and spread the glue around. Trying not to get it onto my cutting mat, because I want to have the cutting mat there still. Go. All right. There we have it. Okay, we'll just toss this paper towel aside because it's kind of falling apart. You should probably actually use a brush for that, but even though paper towel falls apart, it's also something that I don't mind throwing away when I'm done with it. So there you have that. I'm actually going to pull my cutting mat out from under here for now and set it aside for the moment. And then do the same thing. Turn it over and try and lay it on with an equal distance around all sides, more or less. Okay. And then smooth it down really well. Again, a brayer would be really handy at this point, so if you've got one, use it. I don't have one, so I'm just making do. And there we have both of our covers covered. And then what we're going to do is just take and fold our Actually, before we do that, we are going to clip the corners. So, right there, I think. We're clipping the corners just a little bit away from where the actual corner is, which should be fine. And then do the same thing on the other one. Not too concerned about measuring or making sure anything lines up exactly right. We haven't measured anything before now, so why start now? Go. All right, Take those little bit of triangles and set them aside. Everything can be used for something. And then take our glue and run it sort of down the middle of the tab that we've created and hold it up and give it a good crease. Do the same thing at the top. And that's a trick to making these things look nice. Do opposite sides first. So if you do one side, then do the other side, or if you do the bottom first, then do the top, and be consistent about it. You're going to have two covers on this, so you're going to want to do it the same way each time. Top and bottom or side to side. Doesn't matter which one you do first, just be consistent and repeat it on from one to the other. Go. It'll make it look nicer. And this composition book did originally have rounded corners on both the cover and the pages, and I'm going to square up the corners on the covers, but there's nothing I'm going to be able to do without trimming the pages down to square up the pages. And I don't particularly mind the pages being rounded and the cover being squared, so that's why I didn't worry about trimming around the curve. Although you totally can still see the curve there, and you could trim around it if you wanted to. So you could, after you've got it folded down, trim that into a curve if you want. Especially if you have like a corner cutter. I do have a corner cutter, I just don't care. There we go. Okay. One all folded over. Now do the same thing with the other one. Top and bottom first. There we go. Just really well creased down. And then sides. Okay. If you had a fun patterned paper, you could use that here instead. I'm doing cream because it's going to set up a good background for what I am going to do next, which is use napkins to cover it. I got some napkins in a Happy Mail the other day that I think are absolutely gorgeous, and I want to use them for this because I think they will make an excellent cover for a book. Okay. And then we need to decide what color we want the inner cover to be. I think I want it to be like a light green, maybe even like a neon green. I'm not sure that I want to go that bright though. No. I'll have to think about it for a second, maybe pull over a stack of paper and see what we can do. Okay, so let's set those aside for a moment. Oh, I haven't discussed yet how I'm going to reattach the covers to the signature. So it is still a composition book, and I still do want it to look like a composition book. So for attaching the covers to the signature, I have got some tape. It is a very easy way to reattach the covers, and it is a very fast way and it is a very efficient way, and with a composition book, it keeps it still in the same family of how it had been previously bound. So we're going to be using a bit of tape for that, and I've got this green tape with birds and flowers printed on it, which I really like. There we go. So that should be a factor probably when considering my inner covers. Let's grab over. I don't know if I want something necessarily that dark. I don't know that I want something necessarily super bright either. I might do brown. I might do like a nice light brown, actually, because brown goes really well with green. Yeah, I like that. I like that much better than this like neon green, which is the other choice that I have. So I think we're gonna go with this brown. Now we need to trim these pages down because they are too big. They're the same size as their previous pages were, and we need them to be slightly smaller than these covers. So what we're going to do for that is grab out our slide cutter and stack these two pages evenly together and determine where our cover falls on the paper, and grab a quick pencil and put a little mark right there. And then what we are going to do is like cut 1/2 inch from that. So let's see, that's 1/2 inch. So I'll slide it in from the other side because that'll make it easier. But that is 1/2 inch. So if I line up that mark that I just made, the little blue mark, I've got it right down here on that line, on my 1/2 inch line. And then take and check it against my covers to see how I did. Awesome. Then set this aside for something else. And then line my cover back up and put a little blue mark where it hits it. And then cut in 1/2 inch shorter than that as well. There we go. And then, because it's 1/2 inch shorter, that means that it's 1/4 inch shorter all the way around. So there should be plenty of overlap from where we folded over the cream paper to where the brown will come on. There we go. See? That'll turn out really nicely, I think. Okay. Let's stick it on. Same thing. Ooh, actually, let's use a glue stick this time. This is a liquid glue stick, but it's going to be perfect for this. It's still this just happens to be a clear PVA glue. I do always recommend knowing what kind of glue you're working with, just because it's a good idea to know. It's a good idea to know how different glues react with different situations, like heat, for instance. PVA glue reacts really favorably to heat, sets and dries really quickly, makes it very easy to work with. But it's a good idea to know what you've got. Okay, one done. Now let's flip it over and try to line it up evenly and well, hopefully. And there we have it, one page with an inner cover done. Okay, and we can go back and decorate these, go back through and decorate these later. I actually really like this brown paper with the, not only with the tape, I think it's going to match really well, but also with the napkins that I've got, which have got butterflies and script and flowers and things on them. So it's going to be a really like neutral, but really cohesive color, I think, for this. So let's do the other one as well, because we're making two. Pull back out our glue, put glue all over everything, especially in the corners. I don't know if you've seen any of my other videos where I'm gluing things down that have corners, but remember to get glue all the way out into the corners because the corners are the first thing that's going to lift. And once it starts lifting, it doesn't matter how well the rest of it's stuck down, that thing's coming off. Go. I could go through and sew this on as well, like maybe with a nice like zigzag stitch or something, but I don't think I want to. I kind of like it with the clean look, but if I wanted to, I absolutely could go through and put a nice light zigzag stitch around the edge of this as well, and that would guarantee nothing went anywhere. But I think this will be fine. Glue usually does the trick for books. Okay. Let's take it back over, line it back up. You can't see that. I'm lining it up at the top with the two corners where I'm just eyeballing the top to be about an equal border with the sides, because it should be, if we've done it right, equal all the way around, or at least close enough you wouldn't know the difference. Okay, so there we have our two covers recovered. And these, with the extra bits of cardstock on them, are going to be much sturdier than the previous paper was, which is awesome. And now we need to decorate the cover. So for this, I'm going to set aside the back cover for the moment and just pull out my napkin. Okay. And kind of tear around here. There we go. Okay. Because I want that to settle down right in that corner down there. That almost centers this bit of writing here and starts me off on a good place to work upward from the rest of it. So let's grab a brush. Maybe this brush. I don't want something that's too rough because I don't want it to tear apart the, oh, that one. Okay. I don't want it to tear apart the napkin. I wish I had a larger brush, but I don't. So this is what we're working with. All right, and then let's take the rest of this. Actually, do I want to use that border? Maybe I do. Let's take a bit of that brown paper that we cut off. Aha! And use that. Okay, and what we're going to do is just put a glob of glue on there. And then put our brush into the glue and use it to spread glue all over the paper. And then once we've got glue laid down all over the paper, we will go back and glue back over. I could probably have mixed this glue with a bit of water too, actually. Well, it would be a little easier to spread. It would go a little bit further. But I don't have any water in here, so we'll make do with just straight glue. Okay. Just want to get it wide enough that it's going to cover more space than that hunk of napkin that we tore off does. Which I suppose I could just hold it up to it and see. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, and then just lay it down very close but not quite touching the corner. I want it to have just the tiniest bit of a border. And same thing for that side, and then smooth everything on. And then just dump some glue over the top and use my brush to spread it around. There we go. Oop. Without trying to pick it up, the idea being this will kind of stick it down and make it stay where we've put it, hopefully, sort of, maybe. It seemed to be stuck down to begin with, but now that I've gotten it a little bit more wet from the glue, it's wanting to lift back up again. We'll see how it goes. Go all the way out to the edges. It's also really warm in here. It's really warm everywhere right now, but it's particularly warm in here at the moment, which is, I think, not helping on the glue front because it wants to dry quickly, but also like really thickens up really fast. Go. Let's see if we can't just encourage this to stick down a little better. A little more. A little up this direction. All right. And then use the excess glue kind of over here. Okay. And then I've also got this napkin, which has the same writing on it, but is reversed up and down and like kind of narrow. So what I want to try to do is sort of, well, let's get rid of the white parts first. And then this actually seems to have an extra ply in here that I can probably pull off. Maybe? Yes. There we go. That should help. Okay, and then tear it off down the other side. These napkins I got in a Happy Mail that was sent to me, which is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this cover turns out. I hope it turns out well. And then let's scooch that up. And that can actually probably be torn off right below that butterfly. There we go. Sort of like right there, kind of. And then we'll just spread glue all over that from the bottom to the top. Okay. Then make it all even. Okay. Sort of like that. Kind of try to pull off the excess without leaving huge globs of it everywhere, because we can turn that around and set it down on top. Okay, set that brush aside for a moment and then line this up to the bottom edge. There. Bring it all the way up here and kind of flatten it down. Then take that brush with the extra glue and spread it on. I'm getting glue all over my hands, by the way. Like, I am like covered in glue. So be aware, if you don't want glue all over yourself, you might want to wear gloves. If you don't mind glue, or you realize that you can wash your hands because you're using a PVA glue, so it doesn't really matter, then go ahead and do whatever. I am one of the people who just prefers to wash my hands when I'm done. It'll work out. It'll be what it'll be. Okay. See? Now, it's interesting, that one's picking up, but this one isn't. I think it's because I peeled off that extra backing layer on this one. So I definitely am going to go ahead and recommend that, checking out if your napkins, if you're gluing down napkins, checking out if your napkins have an extra backing layer, and if they do, going ahead and peeling that off. Because that seems to really be helping with this. Are. And then just putting a little bit more glue. And doing the exact same thing over again. Are. Stick down. And then we'll have one more section over here, and that'll be really nice because we've got one more piece of napkin we can stick down. So that'll work out, or well, should work out quite nicely. I should have warned you. I think I did warn you that this was going to be a long one. I had a suspicion it was going to turn out to be a long one, and so far it has. But we will see how it goes. how it continues on, I should say. All right, more glue. I am going to have to wait for this glue to dry before I can put the cover onto the book. That shouldn't be too much of a problem, I don't think. Just because I'll let it dry overnight and then I'll come back and film putting the cover on tomorrow. But go all the way out to the edges. Always go all the way out to the edges. And then what I want to do is turn this one over and line it up with this edge and press it down. You know, I probably don't need to actually lay glue over the top of it, but I want to, and it'll seal it in really nicely, so I think that should be all right. And then I've got a little bit that's coming up over the top here, so I'm just going to trim it off. And then glue over the whole thing again. All right. Okay. Across the top. And then down toward the bottom. Okay. There we go. All right. Well, there's our cover. You'll be able to see it better once the glue dries, I think. But tune in day after tomorrow, and I will have a video on attaching it back to the signature. Go. Let's set everything stacked back in place. All right. Come back day after tomorrow and we will have a video on attaching the covers back to the signature and finishing this project up. I will see you all then, and have a wonderful day, and remember to subscribe. Bye!